although the mentee, we thought we'll do a Mentimeter activity to get started. We thought that everything should start with something fun, which you would have realized with everything that I've been doing through the day. But what we'll do is we'll just do a quick show of hands. I wanted to show a Mentimeter, get all of you to review Tinder bios of volunteering activities. I call the app a Kinder instead of a Kinder or a Tinder. But then we can't do that. But to get started, what we'll do is I have a list of activities and you just do a show of hand if you would sign up for an activity, if you would swipe right. And think of it as a volunteer of your own age, not as a young person, not as somebody you work with. If you as an individual would sign up with that activity. Yeah? Cool. I hope it, yes, okay. So I'll just read it. So all of us know that Tinder bios are smaller bios, and you try to tell something fun and cool about yourself, so people will swipe right or swipe left. Swipe right, you like them. Swipe left, you don't like them. Okay? Just do a show of hand. I will swipe up for this. The bio says, just show up when you can, no fixed roles or commitments. Whatever you want to do, you just show up. Yeah? Okay. 1, 2, 3, we see some hands, right? We offer structured onboarding, clear roles, and impact tracking. Will you go and volunteer? Okay. You'll get training, you'll get mentorship, and leadership opportunities. Yeah, a lot of people now. You'll hear from us maybe once a year, maybe never. No? Okay. Volunteering should be flexible, help whenever and whatever you can with. Yeah. So, volunteering should be flexible. Help out whenever you're free in whatever you can. Yeah, lots of people. We expect a long-term commitment with regular check-ins and feedback. Will you go and volunteer? No, yeah. We don't track impact, but trust us, we do good work. Yeah, okay. Last one. Join us for one big event a year. No ongoing commitments needed. Yeah. Great. So a lot of us, so I know that you couldn't see each other's hands, but I could. And a lot of us were very skeptical when we said we do a lot of tracking, we want long-term impact, we want long-term commitment. And a lot of us agreed when we said that it's a one-time thing only, you come in when you can. Or no, sorry, a lot of us agreed when we said it's just one-time event, you come in and you don't come back again, right? That's what I could see. But if you think about it, all of us want a lot of flexibility, which is why we all said, okay, I don't want to commit too much. And we don't want a lot of structures. We don't want people maybe pinging us too much. Like, I think I would have also said if somebody would say, I will only reach out to you when I need help. I will not send you regular messages because I hate those spam emails coming in, right? But any program that's very loosely built, that you don't have to commit to anything, you can do whatever you like, can't really create impact, will not be structured, will not know. It may have you may feel good about it, you will trust that people are feeling good about it, but you won't have any impact on it, and then you may not be able to scale it. You will only continue to do one-time volunteering events, once in a year kind of events, right? Can we go to the next slide? So we thought what we will do is that we'll talk about how do you scale your volunteering program and why should you do that. I thought why is what we should start with. So I had the opportunity to listen to Atul Satija, who's the founder of the Nudge, currently the CEO of the Give India, of Give, not Give India. So he said that a lot of people reach out to him and say that even if I impact one life, that's great. Right? All of us think that if my volunteering program is impacting just one person, that's great for me. But if we are able to impact 1 million people, we are making the impact 1 million times. It's 1 million times greater. And in a country like ours, where there are insane number of problems and crises, we need insane number of people solving for it. Right? If you have 1 lakh people hungry, you can't cook for 30 people and be very happy about it. And those 30 people are the same people everybody is cooking. Somebody will cook dal chawal for them, somebody will cook a dessert for them and be very happy about it, that we're not serving them a full meal, we're serving them a dessert. Or we're serving them a golgappa because nobody is serving that. But we're still working at a very small scale, right? we need to scale up because the problem is bigger. So this is my short answer to why you should scale. If you need more philosophy, maybe you could reach out to somebody who wants to give you more GAN. But what I will do in the next slides is I'll talk about 4 things that I think a lot of organizations have done well. How did they do it? What worked for them and what were the challenges they faced in that? And if you have more questions, maybe you could raise a hand and we could answer immediately. Or if you would like to connect to those organizations and speak with them of how did they work through it, what worked for them, I'm also happy to connect you to them maybe on 7th of March when I'm done with Volcon. Right? Next slide, please. Thank you so much. So I wanted to do the Menti activity, but I know the internet's not working, so we'll just skip. A disclaimer that I want to give is, A, my deck is distorted. A lot of text is not in a word because I shifted it, so that's not the disclaimer. But the disclaimer is that anything that I'll tell you, it's like a matchmaking thing. It might work out, it might not work out. You need to choose it for your own self, will it work out or not. Right? And I can't give you the secret recipe. I can only tell you what worked for others. Next, please. So one thing is that you need to create very well-defined structures and set expectations and timeline. Anybody who wants to scale up their volunteering program cannot be happy that I have, so there's an organization in Delhi who said that I have 250 volunteers, Megha, and one time we went out and did something on Christmas. One time we went out and did something on Diwali. My volunteers were very happy. I had a lot of fun. But when I said that, okay, what do volunteers do regularly? We don't know. We don't want to restrict it, right? But then how do you scale it up? How will you reach out to people and tell them that this is what you will do? And an example I want to give of an organization that did it very well is, if you can go to the next slide, is ClayLab. So ClayLab is an organization that we support. It's a very small organization to get started with, maybe the 3 or 4-year-old. Both the co-founders are 28, under 30. And one thing I love about the volunteering program is that they have a link tree. So I volunteered with them, and why I volunteered? Because I tell everybody every Indian should volunteer, and somebody said, do you volunteer? And I said, okay, fine, I'll go and volunteer. So I signed up to volunteer with them. They had a 3-month commitment. Okay, great. 3 months, once a week I need to do a session. Perfect. But they had everything very, very well planned. So their link tree had, what does ClayLab do? What will you do in session 1? What will you do in session 2? Every link you go to, it will tell you what will you cover, what will be the outcomes. And it was clear to me what I'm signing up for. What will I talk about? I will do networking. I will talk a little bit about activities. I will not teach math that I suck at. So I knew what I was signing up for. And then their volunteering structure. So not only that the roles and expectations are very clear, they also have a structure like Venkat was mentioning in his keynote in the morning. They have a very good structure that a volunteer will be in touch with me. They will do the onboarding. Then somebody will send me weekly reminders that you're not doing the job properly, that you're not sending a feedback form. And this is all volunteer run. And the volunteer will constantly be checking in with me. Are you liking what you're doing? And they would do a lot of things, but with the all volunteer run structure. There's a super mentor. I was a mentor. I was doing that. So very well structured thing, and that's what worked. And then after 3 months, when I thought, okay, fine, I've done the volunteering, I can quit because now I can say a volunteer. I did not want to quit because I felt that I had that connection, and I felt that this is an organization I want to continue working with. I'm now completing 9 months with them. They do in a year, they do 3 months per module. And I've completed all 9. I struggled, really struggled. I almost cried, oh my God, why is it not ending? But I knew that if I had to do this, because I knew there was a structure, I knew this is what I've committed for. So this is a 3 months program, and people might think if you're doing a long-term impact, then putting structure, putting expectations makes sense. But this is a beach cleanup. So if you have heard of, a lot of beach cleanups happens, right? But there's an organization called Captain Social Foundation in Kerala. And what they do is that they will tell you that you only sign up for 1 beach cleanup if you want to, and we'll give you a certificate. That's the only expectation we have from you. But you come for 3 hours and you do the cleanup. Very clear expectations, very clear commitments, and people get a certificate, that's all. People come in large numbers to volunteer with them. I've never seen anybody gather as many people to do beach cleanup as Afzal. I've seen people coming in rains. It was pouring in Kerala, and people were still there at beach cleaning up because of the structure that he has built, the clear commitment he has. And also, he was offering a certificate with UNICEF and all of that. It was very clear, this is what we'll offer, this is how it will help. right? So whether it's a small program, whether you're asking people to only come once and come frequently, like every time you'll come, you'll get a certificate. If you don't come, that's okay. You don't get a certificate. But with ClayLab, they have a structure in place. So you need to have a structure in place. You can't say that people can figure out what they will do, because then you will constantly be busy with planning what next will they do. Now I should do something on Diwali. Now I should do something on World Environment Day, and so on. Yeah? Can we move on? So it is still challenging for them, although they've put in a structure, they've put everything in place. Scheduling challenges. So people will still not show up at beach cleanups. People like me will still reschedule mentoring classes, even though they're very highly motivated and they give gyan on that. They will still be dropouts. People will still not continue to retain. And they would still do multiple recruitments, even though they have a structure in place. Every 3 months, ClayLab has to recruit. Every time they do a beach cleanup, Afzal has to recruit more volunteers, partner with more people, which is inevitable. So you can put all the structure in place, but some things you will have to continue doing. And there will still be lack of commitment, and people will still feel that there's lack of flexibility. But I'll talk more about what to do when people don't have commitment and have flexibility issues in my next slides. What's working for them is that they know who their target audience is. People who are not committing, people who are not flexible are not their target audience. They just tell them you can't volunteer with us. They will reject you at your first stage. People who can't show up for a 3 hours drive, we don't want you, they don't invite you, right? And when they have a structure in place, when they know this is what my volunteers will do, they can focus on a lot more things. They could apply to funders, they could focus their energy on maybe going and presenting at different workshops, going to networking events, and bringing in business. Because that's what founders and the top leadership job is, that once a volunteering program is in place, you could focus on a lot of other things. And also focus on building their core competency, that I want to continuously do that. So another thing about ClayLab that we're doing is we offer to fund them, and we said that last year you engaged X number of volunteers. This year you're still saying you want to engage X number of volunteers. And they came back and said that we still feel that there is not return volunteering happening. Like people are not repeating volunteering, so we want to focus on that. So we won't increase our numbers, we'll just try to focus on retaining them, which is what gives them that mind space to do that. Otherwise, if your focus is on, mera volunteer should continue coming, you will never have time to go back, reflect, and change course of correctness. The second example is a dedicated volunteer manager whose core focus is to recruit, retain, and recognize volunteers. A lot of volunteering programs we see, it's the founder or it's the top leader person, especially younger organization. We see if the person is not there, the volunteering program cannot run, because they are the ones who do the orientation. They are the ones who want to go and meet every person, every corporate, everybody. They want to do things themselves. And if they continue to do that, they can't really focus on organizational growth. They can't focus. You can't do everything alone, right? And we've seen a beautiful example of 2 organizations. Can you please go to the next slide? One is called Disability NGO Alliance. It's a association in Bangalore where they work with some 100 disability NGOs. And the other is Tide Foundation. It's called Together in Development and Education. It's an Ahmedabad-based organization. So in DNA, what we did was that we realized that there are 100 disability NGOs, and there's nobody creating volunteering opportunities for them. There's a lot of scope, a lot of people want to volunteer with disability. So how do we do that? So we hired a person. We said that your job is that you go and talk to each of these NGOs, tell them this is a volunteering opportunity, that this is the role that they want volunteers for, and then go and get them volunteers, recruit those volunteers, engage those volunteers, do college partnerships, do corporate partnerships, and then retain those volunteers. We funded this person for a year, and his salary and the number of hours he was able to do that, the cost of volunteering was 24 rupees per hour. He was able to do some 50,000 hours of volunteering happen in a year with NGOs that had never engaged volunteers. Just one person engaging with 20, 30 NGOs. Tide Foundation in Ahmedabad, so they had some education programs where they focused on teacher training, on encouraging students to how do you build a model city, a lot of interesting models. And they engaged some 8,000 volunteers last year. And they said that if there's a volunteer manager who can come in, we'll take it to 40,000 volunteering hours. And we thought, what? Even if you take it to 8 into 3, even if you do 24, 100,000 hours, we're happy with that. But they were actually able to do 58,000 volunteering hours because the structure was in place, everything was in place. They just needed somebody to come and work with their volunteers and retain it. And do this full time without worrying about what is it a corporate's expecting, what is it that your CA is asking for, and anything like that. That the person's job was only to manage volunteers. Can we go to the next slide, please? But there were challenges, right? In both the cases, the volunteer managers took at least 3 to 4 months to understand what is it they do. So if any of you now think that I will hire a volunteer manager tomorrow and next month I should have 2x volunteering hours, that's not possible. They were really demotivated in the beginning because the organization wasn't sure. The volunteers were not reliable, of course. The number of volunteers they would hire or hope that they would continue to volunteer, they wouldn't show up. One of the volunteer managers at Tide hired some 100 volunteers, put all of them in a WhatsApp group, called me very excitedly, Megha, I'm doing an orientation with 100 people. I'm like, 100 people signed up? 15 people showed up. And I wasn't surprised, but I'm like, that's okay, that's what happens. And after failing for 4 months, not realizing what they're doing, and NGOs telling them, we don't want to do volunteers are not reliable, they don't do anything, it's so painful to work with them. They continue to put in efforts, and they continue to build volunteer manager processes. So in a lot of these organizations, there was no process. How will a volunteer apply? What will happen? Who will issue them a certificate? Will a CEO issue it? Will somebody else issue it? And what all can you do, right? They weren't in place, and lots of challenges to do. But what worked for them is that after a year in both of the cases, we saw they were success. We saw that they were able to do it better. They had a lot of interesting, unique opportunities that they created that we couldn't even think of. Like in DNA, what they did was that they worked with some 10, 12 organizations. All of the 100, only 10, 12 responded to this person. This person went to each of their office, went, introduced himself, said, this is what I want to do. And people weren't very keen. But of these 10, 12 organizations, somebody said, I do volunteering. I support people with disability to get a ration card, or to get a disability card, or I get to get them some schemes or something. So a bunch of things that he used to do. He set up a camp in a college, and he said that all of the college students will come and volunteer for each of these NGO stalls. And all of your beneficiaries can come to college, and we'll do a camp where in a day we'll have 50 people get their documents sorted, or 50 people getting access or signing up for a government scheme, which is a very unique thing when he brought together a lot of people to do. Volunteers felt recognized and continue to retain with the organization, obviously, because a founder or a top leadership cannot continue to do a lot of things. But when there's a volunteer manager, they're able to do a lot of it. Same thing happened with me in Clay Lab. If the founders, Purva or Vivek, had told me, you're not doing the work, Megha, I would have felt really bad. Have you sent in your mails or commitments that we fill into? But when the volunteer manager kept telling me that this is what you need to do, this is important, I knew that I had to do this. Sorry, can we go back? And what we've also seen is that once the volunteer manager gets the hang of what they want to do, they're also able to do more partnerships, offer more visibility to you. In a school, we saw that somebody was able to do a lot of corporate partnerships, do some fun events for corporates for free, and then eventually get CSR partnerships. Yeah, and with the Tide, we saw that the impact went from X to 5X in a year without a fail. The third is, I know that people have already heard of it. I am sure you've heard of pipeline building already in 2-3 sessions so far. And if you've been to any conferences or spoken to anybody around volunteering, pipeline building is the thing. What we did here is that I want to talk about MAD and I want to talk about Internshala. So MAD knows that the volunteers that they want, then they have a data and they've analyzed it that if they want X number of volunteers to go to their shelter homes and teach or do a certain activity, they need to recruit 5X or 7X volunteers. Utna application aayega, tab they will keep rejecting people at every stage. That you did not show up for an interview, reject. You could not come for a one-day team gelling activity. You think it's too much commitment. You can't commit with us for 8-9 months, whatever. They reject applications. My best friend was recruiting me for MAD, and she rejected me because I did not show up on a Sunday for a full day thing. She said, you can't do that, and I work in volunteering. I said, how could you reject me? And she's like, you can't do that. And my best friend volunteered with MAD as a volunteer, then went on to become their city fellow for a year with her full-time job, which talks about there are people like me who don't want to commit for a full day Sunday, and then there are people like her who would continue for a year and do a lot of things without expecting anything in return. Then there's Internshala. So we did a campaign with Internshala focused primarily on pipeline building and processes building. So we figured that Internshala, a lot of people do unpaid internships. Why not they would do volunteering? And what we did was we reached out to Internshala. We said we'll get you NGOs who will hire volunteers from you. Bhumi, Team Everest, certain organization actually hired 4,000 volunteers every month, which was great traffic for Internshala, which was great experience for all the people on Internshala who were signing up. It was, I think, immediately after COVID, a lot of... So every month what we would do is we would design a campaign around a theme. So March, we started with women. So we got in all the NGOs to design a volunteering campaign around women. And we got NGOs to hire volunteers. And with Internshala, we realized that a lot of their database and a lot of their applicants are kachra. So you will get 100 applications, only 10 of them will actually show up or respond to your emails. So if Bhumi said, I want to hire 4,000 volunteers, they would give them 40,000 applications. Bhumi would also know that if I will say 4,000, only then 2,000 will actually work. So there were people who were creating pipelines, and Internshala knew that this is the number of people I need to do that. And we were only able to do that after we did that for 3-4 months, and we rigorously tracked the data. We called NGOs, okay, how many people joined your orientation, how many people did your first task, how many people completed the activities. And NGOs hated me like anything. They thought I am such a pain to them because I am not doing any work. I am just calling them every month, okay, put on an opportunity, why don't you do this, and why are you not hiring people, why are you not sending them this message, did you do this and that. We were very painful with processes, but we got all of that data. And then we were able to, Internshala was able to help people better. So when we did the summer internships, we got some 50,000 people to volunteer in 50,000 hours of volunteering happened in those 2 months. And there were 50,000 applications, although not all of them actually completed. And for a year, we ran that campaign where we got 1 lakh hours of volunteering happen at zero cost. Only my salary was the cost, that too. Like half of my time was the cost we spent. All the NGOs got those opportunities, those people for free. Internshala got all those engagement for free. And 15 to 20,000 people volunteering for an hour. What worked was that we identified the target audience, that this is the people who would do it because वो unpaid internship कर रहे हैं. They're not liking 20 hours of volunteering. They're not liking 100 hours of volunteering. So you create 8 hours, 5 hours ka volunteering. They hate when NGOs don't respond to on time. They hate when NGOs don't have structures in place. One time, I think in June or July, which is a time when not a lot of people are volunteering because colleges have started, we did a campaign around fundraising. So 10 NGOs, all of them offering only fundraising opportunities. There was an organization called Ra Foundation, they're based out of Pune, that never engaged volunteers. And they said, but we want to do fundraising. They engaged 100 volunteers. They raised 1 lakh in a month. With just one person managing those volunteers. So very challenging for them to manage 100 volunteers, just one person, and then get them to do fundraising. How we were able to do that, I'll talk about it in a bit, but one thing was that we put structures in place. I'll go back. They put in that volunteer has to do this and that. And if you do all of this and you still fail to raise funds, we'll still certify you, but you need to do all of these things. And maybe we can talk more about Internshala if any of you is interested later. And we can also share reports and things that worked out. We do very thorough documentation. But all of this, what I'm saying, the challenge is that data is never readily available. With the NGOs for 3-4 months, we had to chase them. So people will tell you, use your data, track your data doesn't lie, blah, blah, blah. But that data doesn't exist. I don't know what data to track. And tracking is really annoying. I send a newsletter every 2 weeks, and I hate tracking it. So all I have to do is log in at 9 a.m., log in at 9 p.m. and log in the next day at 9 a.m. to track how many people actually open it. I hate doing that. And I've not done that for 6 months, and because my boss is not sitting here, I can tell that I've not done that yet. So it's a really sad job. Some people don't like doing it. And all of us, not all of us, a lot of us lack quantitative skills. The reason I'm not able to do that tracking is because I missed that time spot. I now need to go back and do the calculation and do the quantitative analysis myself, which is a tricky job. I hate doing it. So people can tell you, use this tag, use that, and blah, 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 blah. We need to accept people don't like doing it. So it is still a challenge, no matter how much you want to implement it. Your founder, your CEO can go and say, do this. But people will still not like to do it. What works is, as I said, data doesn't lie. When I started doing webinars, people would sign up, 90 people, 80 people would sign up. And I would thought 90 people are signing up. Venkat, we should buy our Zoom premium because our Zoom doesn't allow so many people. Only half of the people showed up. And then we realized that every time we wanted some number of people to show up, we would push for those many people, number of people to register. So if I want 80 people to sign up, I will make sure I get 160 applications. And month on month we did that. I also did webinars twice a month and all of that. It never lied. I never failed. If I had 120 applications, I will have 60 participants, no matter what. I have a data for, I think, 14 months that I can show that I really, really cried while tracking it. But I still have that data, and I can share that. There's scope of course correction. When I would realize that 120 applications, 120 RSVP nahi aa rahe, we would try to get and make sure that we reach out to a new networks. When MAD knows that itne applications nahi aa rahe hain, jitne they want, the number of applications, they would go and do partnerships with more institutes. They would push for, they would do more referral programs. So they would do everything in their capacity to get more applications once you know कि इतना चाहिए ही चाहिए. What has also helped us and has also kicked us in our some planning is that when we don't account data for how many activities we want to do. So some of us will run school programs, some workshops, blah, 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 that we do. But we won't account that last year, October was full of Dussehra, Diwali, and so many activities, schools were closed. So October, nobody was able to do a lot of activities. And we ran an incubator, and we got all of our incubators some goals. That this month, you will get these many volunteering hours done. This month, you will do this much. And October, everybody failed because we didn't consider that data we didn't use very well. But this year, we know that October or Diwali and Dussehra is the time when people will not be available because we saw a drop in that data. So it will help you budget and plan for things better. And you will you will cry while doing it, but maybe you'll still do it. Lastly, that I want to talk about is you need to know what kind of impact your volunteering program is creating. You can say that my volunteers are very happy when they go and teach a child. I see beaches being cleaned and I see a lot of things. But how Satyam was talking about that you need to go from numbers to narratives and you need to make sure that the impact that you're creating is what you're focusing on. So until last year, we used to focus a lot on how many volunteering hours have we created, how many volunteers do you engage. But this year, we realized that we need to focus on what is the impact of those 20 hours or 30 hours of volunteering that you're putting in. For a lack of a better example, I'll say that somebody might say that a corporate volunteer went out and not just a corporate volunteer, a volunteer went out and painted a wall for 4 hours, and somebody might say, all of my employees stayed for 4 hours, nobody left early, nobody left, did a kaam chori, and everybody did for 4 hours. But you could have got somebody to do this at a much cheaper cost. You could have got somebody to do it much faster and much better quality. So you also need to see what is the impact and in more technical terms, what is the cost per unit of volunteering. So if you're getting somebody to volunteer, is there a cheaper way to do that through paid staff? We saw that in an organization called Santushta Foundation. It was an organization we funded in our first year of Evolve. They're based out of Jaipur and they had 3 co-founders. One of the co-founders quit in between the program. They still completed all of their volunteering hours. They were so diligent with doing that. There was not a problem with any number tracking, anything. But they could still not sustain the organization. Because what they were doing, they realized that managing volunteers to teach in Anganwadis is so difficult and volunteers are so inconsistent that then next day what they did was they hired a paid teacher who they paid 18,000 a month. She had a B.Ed degree. She came consistently. The impacts were much better. There was a lot less headaches for the founders and volunteer managers because eventually their impact was education. So you need to remember that all your fundings, all the program that you want to scale has to be for the impact that you're doing. People can go on and talk about volunteering hours and number of volunteers, but what you're doing has to constantly change. If you're still painting 10 schools with 10,000 people or 4,000 people, and you could be making Now you could be making spaceships and trees and whatever you would like, but unless you're increasing in numbers, you're not really growing. Yeah. Two organizations that I want to talk about is Sampark Sathi Foundation and Open Grad. Both of them are speaking. I don't know which are their slots, but I think they're speaking tomorrow. Sampark Sathi is speaking tomorrow. One thing that they did is that they knew that what their volunteers are doing is they're making sure that all the resources available to NGOs are actually reaching the last mile beneficiary. So if a Shroff will say that I will offer a free cataract service, they will go to a slum, identify people who need a cataract surgery. Then they would go send a volunteer who would check, do you have all the documents? If you don't have a document, they will go get the document created. Then they will take that person to Shroff's Eye Care Center, go talk to that person in English, get the forms filled, make sure that the cataract surgery is done, and then drop them back home. Similarly, if you want a wheelchair, if you want to get access to a Ren Basera or a government shelter home, they would do that end to end. And then there's an organization called Open Grad Foundation. What they do is that they have a tech platform which they use to get volunteers to get students to prepare for competitive exams, CUET or CAT, and all of these exams that get students access to good colleges or good courses that will land them a good job. What their impact that they talk about, so although they continue engaging volunteers, Sampark Sathi, in the first year when we funded them 20 lakhs, and they were able to get people to save 90 lakh rupees. So all the services that they saved was 90 lakh rupees that they saved. So although nobody will fund volunteering, but if they go and say that I got this impact and they were able to talk about that, a lot more people will fund, a lot more people will come and volunteer with you, and probably you'll be able to scale up. We've heard a lot of people want to go and partner with them, but they're still stuck to Delhi. They're still figuring out their processes. Open Grad with them, they did one pilot where they got 80 students to actually enroll in a CAT program that they'd never done before. And 47 of them got into tier 1 colleges or tier 2 B school colleges like IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Bangalore, IIM Indore, which I don't know how many institutes can actually talk about. And the fees that they would charge will be a lot more than what they spent on this, right? Which is the impact that they're talking about. They're not saying that they got these many volunteers to volunteer for these many hours and teach these many children. What did they do with that is their impact. And it's not just about storytelling. It's not just about selling. It's about, as an organization, you decide that this should be our impact. This is the outcome we are working on. Yeah? Next, please. The challenges in that. So we say that you need to focus on your matrix, you need to assess your impact, you need to design your outcomes. The metrics are very vague. So if some of you were in Satyam's session before this, he asked people, what are the metrics that you use to measure your volunteering program? And all of us gave very vague answers. We weren't sure. Or we wanted to measure 5, 6 metrics. We didn't know what is one metric. But if you go back to Open Grad or if you go back to Sampark Sathi, they know what the metric is. कि बेनिफिशियरी का पैसा बचना चाहिए एंड स्टूडेंट्स शुड गेट एडमिशन. इट शुडंट बी दैट दे फील हैप्पी, उनका स्किल बढ़ गया. मे बी दैट विल हैपन, बट द गोल और द मेट्रिक इज वेरी क्लियर. A lot of people will say that it's a volunteering program. We want to build in-depth change in the person. We don't want to measure everything. People will have that challenge, and that's a mentality that you don't want to change. You can't change everybody. But when people have this perspective, when they're only doing it for the fun, you need to let them do it for fun. Yeah. Similar, like how I don't want to track my attendance because I'm doing it for fun. There's one more point. No measurement practices for impact either on volunteers or on beneficiaries. So while we're all of us talking about impact, I'm sure you'll talk about it. Here are a lot of people talking about it, but we still don't have, a lot of our organizations don't have those metrics. We launched an EIV grant where we offered grants for up to 3 years, and we selected a few organizations. A lot of them are still struggling with what kind of outcome or what kind of impact they would create, what metric they would use. I've had people struggling that I will increase the legal literacy among children or among the community members, and this can't track. How will the legal literacy be enhanced? How do you track that? So there's still a lot of work to be done. There are no researches readily available. That's basically based out of India. So that challenge will remain. But what works is that if you have a very clear theory of change, if you say that my impact metric is this only, my impact metric is that students should get admission, my impact metric is that these many people should get access to their ration cards or Aadhaar cards, or should get uh, access to wheelchairs or get operations done. When you have that clarity, then you can focus a lot more, and then you can go out and reach out to a lot of people to find. Then you can get people who will come and work with you for your impact, not because it's fun and next Sunday they were bored or they had to watch a match. हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी मेजरमेंट सो इन इंटर्नशाला व्हाट वर्क फॉर अस वाज कि हम एनजीओस को बहुत परेशान करते थे. हम उनको ओरिएंटेशन करते ही वी वुड कॉल देम, डिड यू ट्रैक द नंबर्स, हाउ मेनी पीपल एक्चुअली कंप्लीटेड योर एक्टिविटी, एंड एक्टिविटी कंप्लीट होते ही वी वुड टेल देम व्हाट इज द कंप्लीशन नंबर. If somebody had done that to me for my newsletter, I would have been like, why are you on my head? I want to do that later. But we did that. You always think of the outcome in mind. What is it that you want to do? A lot of times when we are working with corporates or when we are working with a program, we think, okay, my program works around, say, STEM learning or STEM education. But what I will also do is I will get volunteers to come and celebrate World Environment Day. I'll get volunteers to come and celebrate Women's Day, and my number of volunteers or my visibility will increase. You can do that, sure. But if your outcome keeps changing, that I want to engage 20,000 volunteers, which is why I'm doing that, then you will not be able to scale. Because then you're just increasing numbers and you're not scaling your impact. And your volunteering programs should scale for impact. And a lot of these sessions that we're doing at Volcon will talk about it in depth. A lot of people here are there to help you out. I can't do that in one session, but I'm very happy for all of you. Everything that I'm speaking about, very happy to connect you with people who can do that on a virtual call, or if they're in your city, you could go and meet them for a cup of chai and eat their head of how are you doing that. Yeah. Next, can we go? Last, I want to do this one thing, and then Satish can share a sheet with all of you, is that when do you start scaling? So you start scaling when you have structures and processes in place, when you know who will engage my volunteer, who will recruit it, who will do the orientation, who will set up the Zoom account, who will send them a certificate, all the processes you have in place. And you also have a structure in place that if you do this, this will happen. If you do that, this will happen. When you have a proof of concept, anybody we find, we get them to do a proof of concept, or if they've already done that, only then we fund them. So if you do a proof of concept that I want to start a new activity where I get people to go and volunteer in hospitals, try small, try to do whether this concept's working or not. Once you know that this is working, only then scale. Don't go on the gut feeling, go on the data that this worked. If you have a strong team, if your team is not strong, if you think that one person moving out or one person going on a chutti will disrupt your structures, don't scale. Get your team to become very strong that anybody can run the show if you're not there or somebody is not there. Pipeline and funnel data is in place. So no matter how much you hate it, work for 3-6 months, build that pipeline, build that data in a way that you know, okay, I want these many people to show up. I know that if a corporate says 100 people will show up, 9 only will show up. I've spoken to a lot of people who say that if a corporate tells me 120 of my employees will come for a cleanup drive, I only bring 9 gloves because I know 9 people ही आएंगे. अगर 10 आ जाएंगे तो मैं एक खरीद के ले आऊँगा. I've met people who have done that very, very surely. So when you have that very sure data, I have done that for my webinars and my newsletters. I know कि इतने लोग ही read करेंगे, इतने बजे इतने लोग ही read करेंगे, no matter what I do. So be very sure on that. And cost per unit of staff programs. So make sure that whatever you're doing is not as expensive as a staff run program. If you think कि एक स्कूल में इतना सैलरी दे करके इतना इम्पैक्ट आता है, मैं वो वॉलंटियरिंग के साथ कर रहा हूँ, yeah, I'm doing it through volunteers. If it's not less, what Venkat said, if it's not significantly less, then don't scale it up. Try to figure out lesser costs for it. Yeah? Can we go to the next? So I give you a lot of GAN, but I'm now going to give you a sheet, and I'm going to ask all of you to act as a doctors for your own volunteering programs and check out where is it that your volunteering program stands. And maybe do it as a reflective activity and think of what is it that you want to do to course correct. Can we go to the next slide? So this is cost per unit of individual. Sorry, I will come back to you on that. बट इट बेसिकली मीन्स कि एक इंडिविजुअल जो जो कॉस्ट आप पे कर रहे हो उसको टू डू दैट एक्टिविटी इज दैट सिग्निफिकेंटली लेस व्हेन यू डू इट थ्रू वॉलंटियर और थ्रू स्टाफ लाइक इंडिविजुअल impact. I will get back to the word. I'm really bad with maths. So if you think that your structure is very clear defined roles, there are timelines, there's onboarding processes, it's healthy. There's some structure but not sure. It's a warning sign. Maybe you should work on it when you get time. But if there's no clarity, you do whatever you want. अगले महीने दान उत्सव कर लेंगे या इस टाइम पे नवरात्रि में कुछ कर लेंगे या फिर if you think this is how your structure works, then you need to critically work on your structure. If you have a dedicated person who does their volunteer management, great. If somebody does it part-time, try to figure out how can you get them to do this full-time. If there's nobody doing it and you are the one doing it, please act on that. Impact measurement, similar criteria you can all read through, and I can sip some water. And if you have more questions, please tell me and do reflect. Please use this sheet to write down, maybe take 2 minutes and reflect on what is it that you want to work on. And then we can open for any questions. For short term, the only goal is design less than 8 hours and reach out to as many people as you can. Have a full structure in place. And if different types of things. So if I take an example of the fundraising thing that people did where they were able to do. So there was a list of items they created. The first thing was very simple, that you get people excited, you get them to update on LinkedIn, and you get them to like, share, and blah, blah, blah. Then they got people to share that this week you spend only 1 hour and you raise 500 rupees. So you speak to these many people and raise 500 rupees or 300 rupees, 200 rupees. So you set weekly targets and you only get them to work for 1 hour a week, 2 hours a week. And which works for some people, which may not work for a lot of people who have a larger commitment. But if you want to try, explore, and see if volunteering is your thing. People also did graphic designing. People also did one-time campaigns where they did fundraising and then used that same money to go out and buy sanitary napkins and distribute it themselves. So there was a lot of transparency. They knew what they were doing. They knew where the money is going. But they got very excited. They trusted the NGO a lot. And next month, they were happy to raise funds for them, even if they were not the ones spending it. So different kind of things. Some people actually did that. They raised money and then bought pencils from that and went and distributed that because they felt, मैंने पैसा रेज करा है, मैं खर्च करना चाहता हूँ, कहाँ जाएगा? तो NGO was like, please go on and go distribute it. Send us pictures that you bought notebooks, bought pencils, whatever you like, and we'll consider it a volunteering activity. So different types of activities, just getting people excited. And one thing somebody told me was Team Everest. So one time Team Everest was doing an activity and we thought, this is a really stupid activity. What are we doing? But then we spoke to Karthi, and when we wanted to give that feedback to Karthi, we had no data of why we are saying this activity is stupid. And we spoke to some of his volunteers, how is the experience? We were shocked. They said that the orientation that Karthi does, he does only one orientation. So we told everybody, do 2-3 orientations because people will miss out your orientation. You can't expect people to be there for the one time. He said, I will do only one orientation and I will send everybody a recording. I don't have this much time. And we were like, what? But then when we spoke to people about how did you like it, they continued to repeat volunteering because of how well his orientation session is. People connected immediately to him. And then they came back to volunteer again and again. Then we went back and saw how good is his orientation. We did a webinar. We invited him to talk to a lot of people of how do you do orientation so good that we think the activity is crap, but people are loving it and coming back to volunteer because they listen to you. So different things work for different people. And an activity that you think will not work might work out.